So I have a need for 100 watts of AC power in the middle of my yard. We're setting up a solar panel and a charge controller and some other stuff to make this happen. I'm going to try and break this video into a few different areas, like what we're doing physically and then the electronic side of it, mainly because I don't know if I would have done the same thing if I would have known when I started this project how this all needed to work together. We'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, I've got a 200 watt panel and I'm setting it up on a sled so that it will be mobile if I need it to be. This right here, these two little slats are going to hold that battery box, which is going to hold our batteries and probably our charge controller and potentially hold the power inverter as well. I might need another box, I'm not quite sure. But the idea is that those are cut at an angle. We're going to get some paint on this and then we'll bolt the panel brackets down to it and then we'll get the battery box mounted and we'll go from there. So let me try and give a concise explanation of what I was meaning when I said I wasn't sure if I would do this the same way if I knew how it all worked. I knew that I needed 120 volts and 100 watts for my load out in the yard. I knew that I was going to have to run it on solar, so I knew that I was going to need a panel that's capable of producing more than 100 watts. This is a 200 watt panel. I managed to find it on Marketplace. I got that for like 150 bucks. And then the bracket came from Amazon. That was like another $30. The charge controller is an eBay special. That was $15 and then $15 for the battery box. The batteries were kind of free because they came out of another piece of equipment I have, a battery backup, that the batteries are still good, but they needed to be replaced. So let me kind of give an overview of my understanding. These charge controllers, and this is what I couldn't find online. I couldn't find anybody who was explaining how this all needed to work. So hopefully this makes sense to somebody who doesn't want to make the same mistakes I did. This charge controller is a 60 amp controller that is rated for either 12 or 24 volts. Now I couldn't figure out if that was supposed to mean panel input voltage or if that was supposed to be battery voltage or what. And because it was an eBay China special, what I could find on eBay's page wasn't really great for trying to explain it. So I said for $15, I'll just buy it and see what happens. So the way these work, from what I can tell, you'll notice that these are marked 1, 2, and 3, and this is battery, panel, and load. My intention originally was not to use batteries. I just thought that I would run out of the panel into this to just give me regulated 12 volts. Then I was going to run into the inverter because I don't need this to run when I don't have the sun out. So the way that these work is you have to size the voltage of your battery system first. You have to know if you're going to run 12 volt, 24 volt, 36 volt, 48 volt, whatever. And you buy a charge controller that matches whatever your battery voltage is. Then you can get a panel, and the panel, if it is a 24 volt panel, then it'll work. This thing should put out 24 to 40 volts, I think, is the highest open circuit. And so then this will regulate that down to whatever your battery system voltage is. So basically what that means is you shouldn't buy a panel if you don't know what your backup system is going to look like, because all of this has to work together. So I've got 24 volts worth of battery here. These are 12 volt batteries. We'll connect them here in series, so then we have 24 volts coming off of here. Those will get hooked up to the battery terminal first. This thing will then read the voltage that we have, and it'll say, okay, then it sets its circuitry to allow for 24 volt panels. Conversely, if I was running a 12 volt system and I hooked a 12 volt battery to here, it will then set the internal circuitry to accept 12 to 18 volts here. So if I would have only hooked up a single battery and then I hook up a 24 volt panel, something's going to let the smoke out. So anyhow, we'll hook up 24 volts here. We can then hook up the panel, and then I could run a load off of here. Because I haven't wired anything, I don't know if this is going to give me 24 volts off of these terminals or if it's going to give me 12. But I don't need to worry about that anyway, and here's why. I've got a regular automotive power inverter, which is of course rated at 12 volts. I'm going to pull power from one of these batteries off to the inverter, so we'll be charging from here at 24 volts, or getting power out of the panel, I should say, between 24 and 40 volts. The charge controller will regulate that to 24 volts and send it to the battery. That will charge here, and then I will only be pulling off of one battery, so I will only be taking 12 volts off to go to the inverter. The battery, the charge controller, and potentially the inverter are going to be housed in the battery box. And as I said earlier, the battery box is going to live under here. So we'll see. This is definitely step one. I just got this built. We got to paint it, and we'll go from there. But this should be fun.